Narayanam namaskritam naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasatim vyasam tato joyodhirayat nishta prayashu bhadresu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttamashuki bhaktir bhavati naistiki nigama kaparurugaritam param shukamagaram mritajyavi samitam pibata bhagatam rashamarayom mahora hora sikabhuvigaham Krishna sadhama bhagate dharmikani isharo karona shnadu shamisha paranako dunoditam Twamapiyada Vishuddha Vishuddham Vibhuv Samyapiyadena Vidambiduksharam Prakyahiduhor Maranam Sanklesha Nirvanamusanti Nanyataham Anartha Pashamam Shakshad Bhakti Yoga Lokasa Jadana Chakre Satpara Samitam Atmanamastu Muniya Nagrantika Korvandi Hadikum Hitam Bhutagana Hari Twamapiyada Vishuddha Vishuddham Vibhuv Samyapiyadena Vidambiduksharam Prakyahiduhor Maranam Sanklesha Nirvanamusanti Nanyataham Om Meganatimarandasyanganangana Sadakajaksurun Miritam Yanatashmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanyamanovistam Stapitam Yadabhutare Swayam Rupa Karamayam Darati Swaparantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamanam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sham Sri Rupam Sagaratam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Param Sahagana Larita Shivishikhan Stam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinu Bandhu Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Kanta Namostute Jayatam Saruto Pango Mama Mene Matergati Matsavasha Param Bhoja Radha Namara Mohanam Sriman Rasarasaram Vibham Sivara Karsan Vanayosaneo Gopi Gopaneta Sri Asiram Divyad Bhindaranya Kapadurmada Srimad Ratnagara Shima Sanisto Sri Sri Radha Shila Govinda Dupresta Bhavihi Seva Manushmarami Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanyataya Jagadahitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaham Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Sarasati Devi Gadavani Pacharine Nirvishesa Sunyavadi Praskita Desatarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. As they say in India, Suprabhatam, which means good morning. We hope that you've already affirmed that it's going to be a great day by jumping out of bed, touching the foot with your right foot first to begin the journey of this particular day that the Lord has given us, literally on the right foot and with the right attitude. Good morning, Jean. Good morning, Brent. Good morning, Raquel. Wisdom Wednesday. Good morning, Rob. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Great. We have a conference call every Tuesday night. Discuss affairs principally of the Salt Lake City Temple. Rob always jumps on there and gives valuable suggestions. So onwards and upwards. This will undoubtedly be the last time. It's been 9 revisitations to my best calculations of this particular verse. We'll move on starting Monday morning, but let's wrap everything up with this wonderful verse of Narada Muni. Tatanbaham Krishna Katabhagayatam Anugrahena Shrimbata Tushare Midapadambaram Prayasha Vashyaskarita Mateo Mahi. Basically, Narada Muni lists his qualities. He was well behaved, he was gentle, he didn't make a nuisance of himself, he listened very attentively to the droplets of nectar coming from the mouths of the great sages. He rendered service wherever he could. The result of his attachment to those sages was that he was very easily able to be elevated to the highest platform of perfection. We quoted just at the end of yesterday's verse this wonderful sloka from the 3rd canto of the Bhagavatam. I love this. I just love everything about it, the way it sounds, its meaning. It's the 24th verse of the 27th chapter, 3rd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, most likely Kapil Dev. Bhukta Bhoga Parityaga Drishta Dosha Tanishvasha Neshwarashinu Swamihimi Stitasya Bhukta Bhoga Paritya. We talked yesterday about how 99% of the people want to be enjoyers. They want to appropriate God's property and enjoy it as if it was their own. But because it's God's property, there's an essential, fundamental inability of the part to enjoy on the level of the whole. Hence, frustration amongst all the category of men we call karmis, or fruitive workers. They work not for the pleasure of the work, not to exercise their talents and abilities, not to be God-centered, not to honor God, but for themselves. Even the servants, even the butler, the maid, the laundry, the nanny, the laundry person, the nanny, do not think of themselves as servants in this material world. They're doing what they do only in order to get the paycheck. And when they get the paycheck at the end of the week, they use that paycheck for supporting their family members, for having some entertainment, going to the clubs, or going out recreationally on the weekend. So everybody in this material world, even the ones who are serving others, nobody sees himself as a servant. We all see ourselves as a master. However, that is constitutionally impossible. We are not the masters. We are eternally the servants. And when the servant poses him or herself as the master, there's an essential, fundamental, ontological incompatibility, which cannot but result in a deep dissatisfaction, a deep malaise. The soul is not fulfilling the function for which it was created. It's omitting the prime mission of human life, which is to honor and glorify God. So one inevitably becomes frustrated trying to enjoy this material world. Now, the solution to that, of course, which we say every day, is to serve the Lord, to acknowledge and recognize who is the real proprietor. But we wiggle and squirm, and we try and get out of that. And so after being frustrated to place ourselves in the role of the enjoyer, the owner, and the proprietor, then the next line that we withdraw to is to give up. I couldn't enjoy the world, therefore I'm going to give it up. This is called the sour grape syndrome. This originated from a story about a fox who saw some big plump grapes hanging up on a vine. He thought they'd be nice. He started drooling, hankered after them. He jumped up, but every time his jaws closed, he closed on air. He realized he couldn't reach those grapes. All he was tasting was nothingness. For all of his efforts, and for all of his aspirations, and for all of his blood, sweat, and tears, he was just getting jawfuls of air. So finally realizing that he didn't have what it took to enjoy the grapes. They weren't his grapes, in fact, they belonged to the owner of the fields, and the owner of the fields had intentionally put them higher enough so that the fox couldn't get them. Well, then what the fox did is, the grapes were probably sour anyway. So failing to enjoy this material world as a karmi, as a fruitive worker, one next goes to the position of saying, I renounce it. I renounce it. And Prabhupada said, you can't, no more than you can enjoy what's not yours, you can't renounce what's not yours as well. If it wasn't yours, you can't give it up. Prabhupada gave the funny example. Let's say you walk past the Bank of America, you say, I renounce all the money in the vault of the Bank of America. So you just make of yourself a laughing stock, because everybody knows you don't own the money in the Bank of America vault, so you cannot renounce it. It's just a ludicrous position. Here's the proper stance. One man comes by, he sees a wallet lying on the side of the road, or he sees someone momentarily left a wallet on the counter, and he takes the wallet, puts it in his pocket. That's the thieving mentality. Eastern Bogani Bodhiva Dasan Terda Dhanapita Yobokdastenevacha. The vast majority of living entities come to this material world with that thieving mentality. Eastern Bogan Saevata Boga. We want to enjoy God's property. That is quid pro quo, the mentality of a thief. Okay. Now, another man comes and he sees the wallet lying on the side of the road. He knows it's not his, so he leaves it there. He says, I renounce the wallet. He walks past the wallet. He doesn't commit the sin, the crime of picking up the wallet. He knows it doesn't belong to him. He leaves it lying there. That's like the renunciate. He turns up his nose at God's creation. Previously, he couldn't wait to enjoy God's creation. There were so many choices, so many options for stimulating the senses, but he just got burned out. He just got drained by doing that lifetime after lifetime, and finally he gave it up as being fruitless. He renounced it. He's like the man that walks past the wallet. He doesn't steal the wallet. He doesn't take the wallet. Now, the gentleman comes by, he sees the wallet, and he knows it belongs to somebody. But what does he do? Yes, he picks it up. No, he doesn't put it in his pocket. He doesn't appropriate it. He doesn't renounce it. He looks at the driver's license, the credit card. He finds the name of the person who owns the wallet. He does his level best to contact that person and return to that person his own property. This is Bhakti Yoga. This is our process. We recognize Bhaktiram Yagatapasham Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suriram Sargyatva Mam Shantim Vijiti. The world is full of false enjoyers, self-centered enjoyers, all of whom are in a tough race of competition, one with another, to see who can enjoy more of God's stolen property. And on the other end, there are those who renounce the world, artificially separate themselves from society, family, and love in the name of merging or becoming one with God. And these are two witches. And if you're sitting on the lap, if you're associated with the witch of Bhukta or the witch of Bhoga, you're going to be disturbed. You're going to be lacking peace. Krishna Bhakti Niskama Taiva Shanka Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kama Shakadasha. The bhuktis and the muktis, the enjoyers and the renunciants, are not peaceful in their minds. Only Krishna Bhakti Nishkama, only the devotees of Krishna, have no ulterior extraneous desires to fulfill. They're doing exactly what they were created to do, and they will be doing it eternally. They're not doing one thing to get another result. They're doing devotional service in order to do more devotional service. Bhukti Bhogi Paritya. So those who are truly renounced are those who aspire neither to enjoy nor to throw away or discard God's property. Bhukti Bhoga Paritya. Drishta Dosha Nityasham. This is a faulty mentality, seeing anything as your property, seeing that you even have the right to enjoy it or renounce it. And when you Bhukta Bhoga Paritya Neshwarashadum Shami Himni, then paradoxically the tiny insignificant spirit soul becomes very, very great, very, very powerful. Shami Himni Sitashita. Consider Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj was a 5-year-old boy, and before he became God conscious, by the grace of his spiritual master Narada Muni, he couldn't even claim his own birthright. He was the oldest son of King Uttampanada, but the king had taken a younger wife, and she had had a son. So that stepson was favored over and above Dhruva. Dhruva, as the firstborn, was the natural heir to the throne. However, he was disenfranchised, disinherited. When he tried to get up on his father's lap, he was prevented from doing so. His stepmother cruelly said, she said to him cruelly, imagine an adult saying this to a 5-year-old boy. She said, if you want to be the king, you have to take your next birth from my womb. Oh my gosh. Poor little boy. He couldn't even defend himself against his low-class insults without devotional service. But then he went to the forest. He met his guru, Narada Muni. He became Krishna conscious. In order to become Krishna conscious, he merged his incoming breath into his outgoing breath. So he stopped breathing. The incoming and outgoing were in a state of suspension. This 5-year-old boy, standing on one leg for 6 months in the forest, without eating any solid foods, without drinking water, subsisting on air, and not even breathing, caused the whole universe to start suffocating. And standing on one leg, he was pushing down. His weight was incalculable, pushing down the earth This is the power. Each and every one of us within this body is a tiny spark of God, 1/10,000th the size of a tip of a hair. Keshaga satigaba punashata kara shukshma jivarishurapi. What can we do? What power do we have? 1/10,000th the size of a tip of a hair. Insignificant. Truly, truly, truly insignificant. How big is 1/10,000th tip of a hair? Can anybody say? Can you even measure it with sophisticated instruments? You can't. It eludes all material detection. That's how small it is. So on our own, we don't add up to much. But Dhruva Maharaj aligned himself in service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That same Personality of Godhead who appeared as Trivikram before Bali Maharaj took 3 steps of land, and with 2 steps of land he covered the earth and he covered the entire universe. It is that Lord with whom Dhruva Maharaj made his connection in the forest, and not on his own power, but by virtue of the Lord supporting and protecting and empowering this 5-year-old boy. He stopped the breathing of the whole universe, and he became so heavy he started pushing the universe down. So you want freedom, you want independence, you want to take off the limits of your life, you want to rise to a level of excellence, you want to make a difference, you want to do things that you could not do on your own, accomplish dreams that are far bigger than your own capabilities, then connect in loving devotional service like Dhruva Maharaj and all the great devotees by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Generally in this material world, servant has a bad connotation. Nobody wants to be called a servant. Nobody wants to be referred to in that way. But if you're serving, Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Petitam Bam Vishamek Tavak Pada Kripaya, Pada Kripaya. There's nothing you can do, 1/10,000th size of a tip of hair, to impress the Lord, to capture the Lord, to force the Lord to engage you in his service. You have to throw yourself on the mercy. Tava Pada Kripaya. Nobody has ever attained the backing, the support of the Lord, except through the mercy of the Lord himself. It is the Lord's causeless mercy. Atapi te deva padambujad paya pashada lashkana janati tatvam bhagavanme nachanyo eko charimichan. Nobody ever got to the next level. Nobody ever accomplished dreams beyond their own powers and capabilities, save and except for the mercy, the pada kripya, the mercy of being accepted as a servant at the lotus feet of the Lord. You want independence, you want freedom, you want influence, you'll never get ownership, you'll never get sovereignty, because that's already covered. Only one source from which everything comes, and that source, unfortunately, sorry to break it to you, is not you. But if you serve, service is the key. Service is the pin code for liberty, for freedom, for eternal life, for knowledge, for empowerment beyond your furthest dreams. The key, SERVICE, to the Supreme Personality of God. Because the real servant is Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna. The real Lord is Krishna. Ishvara Parama. Ara Sabhabriya. Ekara Ishvara Krishna. There's one Supreme Lord. There are many lords, there are many people with power and influence, but each one of them has somebody over them. There are many demigods who are the proprietors of all the various planets, but above the demigods is Lord Brahma, the creator of this universe. And here's what Lord Brahma says in his own song, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. He says that although I'm the Lord of all the demigods, although I'm the creator of this universe, there is one above me. And he is such a Lord that he has no Lord above him. He is Karana. He is not caused. I'm caused. The demigods are caused. The Manus are caused. The great saints and sages are caused. The Prajapatis are caused. The Marichas are caused. The Devas, the Daityas are caused. The Vidyadharas are caused. The Gandharvas are charged. The Siddhas are caused. But there is one who has caused any and all categories of living being and who himself is not caused, Satchidananda Vigraha. He has an unlimitedly potent form which is composed of knowledge, bliss, and eternity, and his name is Govinda or Krishna. But when you link up, when you hook your wagon, you might say, or when you, due to sincere prayers and to the intercession of a bona fide spiritual master, get a position as an atom at the lotus feet of the Lord by the mercy of the Lord, which appears to us in the form of the spiritual master, then there is nothing which is impossible for one to do. The liberated soul says, I can do all things through the Lord. Otherwise, the tendency, unfortunately, in this material world is to take shelter of other conditioned souls, of other souls who have no scintilla of God consciousness. Imagine so many blind men, and one blind man shouts out, follow me. I can see. He's a liar. He's a cheater. He can't see. But the problem is, because everybody else is blind, they don't know that he can't see. So he's encouraging them to follow him, to support him, to vote for him, to fund him, to send him all kinds of sense gratification. He wants everyone to make a contract with him to subordinate themselves and their assets to him on the false claim that he can lead them to a better place, which he cannot do. Prabhupada says, a man bound by the hands and feet cannot free himself. He must be helped by a person who's unbound. Because the bound cannot help the bound, the rescuer must be liberated. If you're bound hand and feet, you cannot be released by the guy next to you who is also bound hand and feet, no matter what he says. He may say this, that, and the other thing, but the test is he reaching over and untying your knots? Because if he isn't, don't follow him. Avishmitam tam parikanam shavena lebhena samam vinopashati rabodam shalangananarti tatishanam. Generally, people follow false, blind leaders just because they're loudmouthed, just because they make unrealistic, false claims about their abilities to lead others, because they're louder and bigger and stronger and more aggressive and less scrupulous. The average innocent person will follow the materialistic leader. Unfortunately, the only thing that leader can do is lead them into a ditch. Or the example it's given in this verse is that if you board a boat, the boat may be nice. It may have nice cabins with nice bunks. There's a bar. There's music on Saturday night. There's a shuffleboard. There's a running track. There are 3 swimming pools. 3 swimming pools. Unfortunately, the boat is made of stone. So it doesn't matter how comfortable and how many conveniences that boat has, how much food it has, how many bands it has retained, how many personal trainers, how much equipment there is there. The point is not to live comfortably in a stone boat, because that boat will not only not get you to where you need to go, but it will sink. As soon as it's cast off from the harbor, it's going to go only one direction, and that's down. So our encouragement is, be very careful who you follow. We should only follow the Lord who is within the heart, or the Lord's bona fide representative. Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagavana Jiva Guru Krishna Pashade Pai Bhakta Latavi. We tiny souls, wanting to be independent, wanting to be masters, wanting to have our own sovereignty, our own country, our own family, our own business, our own influence, have been revolving in the cycle of birth and death for who knows how many previous incarnations, bound up hand and foot by the ropes of the modes of material nature. perennially following leaders who just get us more and more entangled in the material atmosphere. So the solution to all of this, that one who can Om Agena Chitvainam Yoga Shamsena Chakvatishta Parantara. Krishna tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, you need to get someone who's not only not bound himself, but who has a very sharp knife. So without any delay, without any sawing or hacking, with one or two strokes, he immediately cuts you loose from the ropes of the mode's material nature, and frees you in order to proceed on the road of devotional service following on its footsteps. Om Agena Sambhutim. Krishna says, Arjuna, throw off ignorance, throw off misdirection. Om Agena Sambhutim. Reach down, take shelter, reach down of that Lord in the heart. He's right there, closer than a brother. And he's always been there. As long as you've been revolving in the cycle of birth, death, he has accompanied you. He has stayed the course. He has not abandoned you. When your family abandoned you, when your country abandoned you, when you had to leave each and every species and each and every family circle to then transition to another family circle, another species, another country, another planet, the Lord alone accompanied you throughout all of your wanderings in this material world. Then who is that better person to surrender to than the Lord, who is so powerful? He's in the heart of every living being, and he's so steady that he never takes a break. He's always there. He's always ready to help you. He's always available. In this material world, if you want to get a favor, you want to get blessings, you want to get a promotion, you want to get funding for your project, you want to get a gig if you're an artist, you have to look here and there, go through Google and search here and there, and then maybe you'll make the right connection. Lord doesn't want to put you through all of that because he's so kindly disposed to living being. He's standing by, next door, down the street, in the next city, a short Uber ride, a short airplane. No, he's within you. He's that close. He's within you. All you have to do is call on him. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj says, Koti Prayasho Sarara Balaka Hare, speaking to his friends, all of whom are the sons of the demons. They're having a recess time in the school there, the Gurukula. Koti Prayasho Sura Balakahari. You're the sons and daughters of the very powerful demoniac friends of Hiranyakashipu. Upashane Suriricha Davatsadaha. Says, what is the problem? You have to endeavor so mightily to get material favors and material benedictions and temporary sense gratification. And it all gets finished in a moment. Drishta maya vibhu dishna kalapanam ayo suryo vabhati ichiti yanjano yashmatkata hasas rimbaru vispurjanam luja satare nashtam. Prahlad Maharaj says, just look at my father. He's the pinnacle of success according to material considerations. He's leading all the living entities within the whole universe. He's so powerful that he only has to look sarcastically in the direction of the demigods, and they're terrified. They tremble in fear of him. And yet this powerful living being, Krishna Maya, everything, I have seen it with my own eyes. It was all destroyed within a fraction of a moment. Oh, so much difficulty, so much endeavor, and so much frustration. And even while he was at the pinnacle of his power, he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy. Itam sata nirja kakub sarat vishaya priyam. The enjoyment of the senses was very dear to Hiranyakashipu. To enjoy his senses was his first priority. Even his name, Hiranyakashipu, means golden soft bed. Golden soft bed. So it says that Even though Hiranyakashipu was enjoying his senses up to his full capacity, wine, women, followers, wealth, all those things, it says, Yato Pachashama Bunjate. Then it says, Yato Pachashama Bunjate. Naptriptanti ajitendram. He was not at all satisfied. Why? Ajitendram. Because his senses were not under control. Nachyuktashabhavana nachabhavi asantasha kutoshikam. How can you have peace when you don't have sense control? No one whose senses were out of control ever in the history of the world came anywhere close to having peace. Why go that route? He tells his schoolmates. He says, Krishna is closer to you than a brother. He is Suryam Sarvabhutaram. He is your well-wishing friend. He is the owner of everything. You try to enjoy his property at your own risk. And there is no difficulty in worshiping the Lord. To worship the demigods, or to worship your boss, or worship the political, during political campaigns. So many people, industrialists, big businessmen, they contribute. And when the person they're contributing to gets elected, then he gives them favors back. He rewards them with cabinet posts and ambassadorships and contracts and things like that. This whole process of giving and taking, bribing, I grease your palm, you grease my palm, it's going on in the material world. So much endeavor in order to get a little favor, a little drop, a little crumb from a powerful person. What does Krishna ask? What does the Supreme Personality of Godhead ask? He asks, Patram Pushpam Phalam Tuyam Yome Bhakti Prajati Tarishnam Varsham Pariyatatmanam. A flower, a fruit, a leaf, or water. He says, this will satisfy me. He says in our rap song, he says, a cup of water makes me smile, though I could drink an ocean. A cup of water makes me smile, though I could drink an ocean. A flower, fruit, and leaf is fine if it's offered in devotion. What do you give the person who has everything? You can't give him anything. He already possesses everything. Everything comes from him. Everything is owned by him. But what you can give him is the gift, the offering of your devotion. And that's all he wants. That's all he asks for. It's just offer me something in devotion. Flower, fruit, leaf, or water. And he's always available in that way. You don't have to travel far and wide. You don't have to suck up to anybody. You don't have to flatter anybody. He's always available. He's like the sky. The sky is so great. Can anybody calculate the length and breadth of the sky? It's vast. It's immeasurable. And yet I'm touching the sky right now. I'm touching the sky. And you can touch the sky also. And the sky is always touching you. So the sky is at one and the same time unimaginably vast, limitless, and at the same time, it's within the reach of each and every one of us. So Krishna is the greatest, and yet he's made himself available to each and every living being. I said living being. That means he's available. He's accessible not only by the human beings, but even by the animals themselves. In his Paramatma feature, the Lord exists as the best friend and well-wisher of every living being. In that regard, he's called as Sayuja Sakyo. He always stays undeviatingly in the heart of the living being, so friendly to the living being that he remains within his heart, so that you can very easily and without any difficulty, without any delay, without any time lag, immediately contact him. Therefore, Prahlad tells his schoolmates, be sensible, guys. Be sensible. It's so easy to obtain the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the benefits are eternal. Maya Vishana Mono Yemam Nitya Yuktu Pash Shraddhapado Teme Yukta Tamavata. Anybody who thinks of me, Krishna says, is very, very dear to me. And when you're dear to the Lord, nothing is impossible. You have access to anything that the Lord accesses. If you put what God wants for you in the middle of your life, you can go to places that you would never be able to go on your own. And how do you indicate to the Lord that you're now ready and willing to be an instrument in His service? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Bharadam, Dasham, Sakamatmanivedam. There are 9 processes, beginning with Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. Chanting, hearing. What's the result of chanting and hearing? Smaranam. You remember the Lord. It's like we're giving talks every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. You're listening. So we're not thinking of anything material during these half an hour, 45 minutes that we share time together. Once we leave our computer screen and walk off, the radio and the television and the traffic and the demands of the job and everything, then it's a little more of a juggling act. But right during this time, when we're enjoying kata together, there's nothing material intruding. Material is kept at a distance. It's blocked out. We're, you might say, immunized during this time together. So Prahlad Maharaj advises his friends, just protect yourself, put on the armor, gird yourself, put on the shield of Krishna's kata and Krishna's devotees. Elsewhere it said, Akshno phalam tvadisha darshanam him. The perfection of the eyes is to see the beautiful form of the Lord. Tanu phalam tvadisha gatur shagam. The perfection of social intercourse is to rub shoulders with other devotees who are engaged in serving the Lord. During kirtan, devotees often go shoulder to shoulder, bump arms. They move in unison back and forth and around the temple room. This is the perfection of togetherness. We're better together in the service of the Lord. And then it says, Kirtanam Tadisha, Jivafalam Tadisha Kirtanam. And what is the perfection of the tongue? It is to take prasadam and to chant the holy names of the Lord. This is perfection. And is there any difficulty? Prabhupada said, in engaging in devotional service, what is the difficulty? Shruti Kirti, who spent many years as Prabhupada's intimate friend and associate, probably more quality time with Prabhupada than any other person on the planet, he wanted to write a biographical book whereby he would share his intimate interactions with Prabhupada. He went ahead and wrote the book, and then when it came to title the book, he chose this phrase, the same phrase that we've titled this morning's discussion. What is the difficulty? Just look at the picture of Prabhupada behind me with his smile. You just feel the sublimity, what's sublime, transcendental feelings of love are coursing through Prabhupada's body. His eyes are closed in ecstasy. He's got his beads in his hand, and he's about to expound upon some eternal truth, which originates from the mouth of Krishna or Krishna's devotees. Now, is that not a picture of perfection? If that's not a picture of perfection, I don't know what is. And would you rather associate with Prabhupada, who's behind me, who's called Bhagavat Sangi, always in the association, never out of the association of the Lord through His name, forms, and qualities? This is the association for which our innermost heart should hanker. This is the association for which we should cry. And if we're fortunate enough to have our prayers answered and get this association, we worship the lotus feet of the spiritual master. We worship those Yasha Prasada Bhagavat Prasada, Yasha Prasadana. The lotus feet of the spiritual master are the only way by which you can get pure devotional service. So if the spiritual master is merciful enough to extend his lotus feet, and we're astute enough to take advantage of that extension, we should go for it. We should latch onto those lotus feet with all the strength at our disposal and never let go. Unfortunately, in this material world, most people latch on to political, unscrupulous, misguided, blind leaders. They're called Yoshid Sangi. They're ones who are attached to material entanglement, which basically means power, women, name, fame, wealth. This attachment is binding you up to the conditions of this material world. And in fact, Yoshit Sangha, association with men who are attached to women and wine and wealth, is actually not only not benedictory, but whatever blessings, whatever potential assets you have, it drives them away. It drives them away. In the Madhya Lila, 11 chapter 58 verse, we find the glories, the power of a bona fide devotee of the Lord described. Ramananda Rai Ajitabara Prema Guna Prabhu Age Kahita Prabhura Viragera Mana. The king in Orissa there was a great devotee king. His name was Prataparuta. He was so powerful that although the Muslims had overrun all of India, they did not overrun Orissa. Whenever the Muslims would fight with King Prataparuta, even though they had vastly superior forces, King Prataparuta would always send them running. So amongst all the states of India, several hundred years ago, King Prataparuta was practically one of the very, very few which was not overrun and administered by the Muslims. King Prataruta's power derived from the fact that he was a devotee, that he was protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But nevertheless, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna's devotional incarnation, was living in King Prataparuta's capital city in Jagannath Puri, I don't know if it was the capital city, but it was the most important devotional city, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu refused to give darshan to King Prataparuta. He was the king. Everybody else wanted King Prataparuta's darshan. If you got to see the king, if you got a glance from the king, you were so happy. It was very rare and very difficult to get any private time with the king. And yet the king wanted a moment with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Lord Chaitanya would not give it to him because he was a king, and therefore he associated with money and women, power and influence, and so on and so forth. And the king tried over and over and over and over and over again on his own to get an interview with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he got refused repeatedly. Finally, when Ramananda Roy and Sarvabhauma Acharya talked to the Lord about King Prataparuta, when his devotees interceded on behalf of King Prataparuta, and they petitioned Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because the Lord is not independent. What is it? Aham bhakta parana hiyashadadi sadavuriya shadu shadarman. The Lord said, I am not independent. I am under the control of my devotee. So for himself, the Lord as a sannyasi would never be in the same room with a worldly king. However, as soon as Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Ramananda Roy, great devotees, said a word on behalf of King Prataparuta, immediately Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu agreed. He had no separate independence. He was dependent upon the mercy and the recommendations of his devotees. And that's why it said, Yasha Prasada Bhagavad Prasadam. There's only the lotus feet of the spiritual master are the only way, Gato Piva, that we can get the mercy of Krishna. It's only by the spiritual master's intercession on our behalf that Krishna deigns to notice us and to accept us as servants at his lotus feet. And therefore, our first duty is to satisfy the spiritual master, who then arranges for the Lord's mercy. A common man must first begin to serve the spiritual master of the devotee, then through the mercy of the devotee, the Lord will be satisfied. Nesham matish tavad urukuna spishiri ramakana mahiyasam pado rishanam niskinchanam nanarviti yada. Prahlad Maharaj says, has anyone ever achieved the favor of the Lord, freedom from repeated birth and death, the liberation, the empowerment to pursue dreams far beyond their own ability, to be an instrument in accomplishing the Lord's purposes in the world? Has anybody ever achieve any of those magnificent goals without taking the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord's devotee on one's head? And the answer is no. On his own, Maharaj Prataparudra, with all his wealth, all his power, even all of his devotion, was prohibited from getting the interview with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But when Maharaj Prataparudra worshipped the feet of the Lord's devotees, when he worshipped Ramananda Roy and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, then he was able, by virtue of having the dust of the feet of those devotees on his head, then his petition became successful, and he was able to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. A pure devotee is by definition a completely surrendered soul under the personality of God. He knows the Lord practically. He's experienced in knowing the Lord as the proprietor, as the best well-wishing friend, and as the owner of everything. Therefore, by association of devotees, and association of devotees only, one can get rid of all the sins and all the baggage which is accumulated by mundane association throughout many, many, many previous births. Prahlad finally concludes to his school friends, Svashtiyastu Vishvashakalpa Kalipasharanam Dayantu Bhutani Shivam Mitodya. Devotional service and devotees of the Lord are non-envious, non-competitive. They only want the best for all living beings. And so wherever there are devotees, there is Shivam. There is love, there is compassion, there is auspicity, and in that association, no one's minds are envious of anybody else. Everybody wants to help and assist each and every other person to achieve the highest platform of love of God. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj says, let there be good fortune throughout the universe. May all envious persons be pacified, and let everyone accept one scripture, Bhagavad Gita, one God, Lord Sri Krishna, and practice one mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Let all living beings become calm and gentle, following the footsteps of Narada Muni. How? By practicing Bhakti Yoga. By accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let everybody engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thoughts of Him. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyavacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo naha. I offer my respectful obeisances and all the Vaishnava devotees of Lord who are just like desire trees who can fulfill the desires of all living beings. That concludes our, I think, 9-part series discussing this wonderful verse of Narada Muni Tatanvaham Krishna Katabraga Anugrena Shrimadam Tashvarayanaparam Priyashya Vashya Skalitamatampama. Any summary words, Rob?
For me, yes, Prabhuji. I realize that I have many blessings, many gifts, many skills that Krishna has bestowed upon me, and it's my responsibility to use those in devotional service and to serve His servants, and not to greedily try and hold on to them and use them for my own self gratification.
Exactly. They're given for that purpose, and if you don't use them, they won't stay with you for very long. That's the secret of ongoing prosperity, not prosperity that comes and goes, but prosperity that stays, takes up residence with you and your family members. Thank you for that. Any other comments here? Philosophical comments? We've got a lot of Hare Krishnas from Raquel, a Hari Bol from Brent, a bunch of exclamation marks and a heart from Jean. All glories to Prabhupada from Rakesh and Sundari Priya. Hare Krishna from Govinda Dev. Pranams from Bhai Bobby. Okay, here's a comment from Bhai Bobby. We serve to get more service, not liberation, and all 9 processes of service can bring Ours is pure devotion. Wonderful, wonderful comment. We don't serve to get anything. We just serve to get more service. The service itself is a blessing. It's a gift coming through the causeless mercy of the Lord's devotee. So we don't prostitute the service for some temporary material benediction. We execute the service trying to be such a servant that the Lord entrusts us with more service on top of the service we already have. Jaya Sri Radhe. I'm not sure what this is in reference for. She says, wouldn't that be great? Which we wish we could actually find that. She may be referring to the Lord in the heart. Shukra says, Jaya Prabhupada, another excellent presentation today. Thank you. If we've succeeded in glorifying the Lord, that makes us happy. Thomas is driving to the airport, listening to us en route. Jai Sri Radhe, Vancha Kalpatarubhyas, thank you. Govinda says this has been an amazing week for morning katha. Appreciate your feedback. Coming from Govinda Dev, that means a lot to me. Sundari Priya, thank you very much, Prabhuji. John Malik, marvelous. We will be back to ruminate, to relish the next verse, which will be the 30th verse in the 5th chapter next Monday. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama,